Everyone deserves compassion, including Trump. Why would I say that? Because there's one person in the world that you don't believe deserves compassion, and it's not Trump, it's you. I say Trump deserves compassion because everybody does. Every human being is living a human life, and human life, while it is incredible, it's painful. And there's no avoiding that. And this is why everyone deserves compassion. But for some reason, self-compassion is very hard to accept for many. Why is it so hard to accept that we deserve compassion? Do we think it's because it's going to make us weak if we offer ourselves compassion? Do we think it's going to make us soft? I can admit that there are practicalities to being strong and to having thick skin, but that's only some of the time. We go through our lives pretending like we need to be hard and strong the entire time, and especially with ourselves. That for some reason, we are untrustworthy with our own life. That if we give ourselves the understanding and the benefit of a doubt and the positive regard and the fierce energy of doing what's required to be safe and healthy, these are all compassion. For some reason, we think that if we give ourselves those things, that we'll, be lazy? That we will mess it up somehow? That for some reason, giving ourselves the necessities and the building blocks of life, the ones needed not only to survive but to thrive, I think we've been told not to trust ourselves. And I think that's why we don't offer ourselves self-compassion. Because if we offer ourselves self-compassion, we can remove most of the barriers in our life. And I say that not because it's magic, but because most of our barriers are not real. They're suffering. They're not pain. And I'll explain the difference. Pain is what happens, and suffering is how we feel about it. If you lost your job, there is a lot of pain associated with that, and a lot of valid pain, including emotional pain, grief, loss of identity, also social pain, supporting and providing for yourself and the people around you. But there's also a lot of suffering. With every one of those experiences, there's all these extra bits that we attach on. We can be so attached to parts of our identity, especially if it served us well in the past. But the compassionate understanding is that you lost your job. It happened. It's done. Now what? And this is something I love about compassion. It has a now what energy to it. I think compassion is special, self-compassion especially, and why it can reduce or eliminate most of the barriers in our life is that it doesn't just apply to some siloed or distinct experiences that we have as humans, like grieving or pain, loss, where we deserve compassion and where compassion can help us. I think compassion is bigger. I think compassion stretches the full span of the human experience. If there's a risk or a threat and you need safety, if someone that you love is under threat, the swelling and surge of energy in you to protect them and to help them, this is compassion. If we need to end a relationship, even if it's a beautiful one, there are many reasons that we need to end relationships, and with no judgment of the relationship or why it needs to end, compassion. We need it and we deserve it. And I'd love to hear from you. What do you think needs and deserves compassion in our lives? What in your experience do you need and deserve compassion for? We live in a society that fills us with shame. We are all so full of shame, it's hard to let in sometimes just how pervasive it is. And this is why I think self-compassion can help us with most things, is because we go through our lives applying a heavy layer of shame to most things about us, most things that we do. We don't need, it doesn't help. Shame is like the inner critic. It tells us that it's helping, but it costs way more. Let's do some accurate accounting on ourselves. Let's do some fearless accounting on the benefits of shame and the inner critic. I know I have, and all I can talk about is my experience, but the benefits of shame and the inner critic can't even compare to self-compassion. We spend so much time and energy shaming ourselves and critiquing ourselves. If we could have one of those time trackers or a timekeeper on our thoughts, I would guess most of us would be over 80% shame and critique. Do you want that 80% back? Because you can have it back, but there's some really difficult emotional labor between you and that. And that's self-compassion. It's work. It is work. You have to put aside time to feel. You have to put aside time to process. And I don't mean make yourself feel things. I mean allow yourself to feel some of the most painful realities of your life. I can already tell you that allowing yourself to feel these things will not kill you. I can already tell you that you are strong enough to face the truth of your reality. And that when you do, you get a lot of that reality back. We're living in a complicated time. Have some understanding for yourself. You're figuring it out. We're all figuring it out one day at a time.